All right. Thank you guys for joining us again for episode 7 of the Phoenix Film Revival podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Iannaccone, and today we're here with Danny De La Cruz. We're going to get into what used to be a really popular thing. It was just the way things worked back then. People used to drop off their film to locations and get it processed, get it scanned, get their prints back, all that jazz. Fotomat, that used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Danny knows all about it. He lived through that period.
That was big during the 80s. Oh yeah, there's isn't there a movie by Robin Williams?
Well, there's 1 Hour Photo.
Oh,
he's in that one, which is like, that's more of like the grocery store, sort of like, go in a department store. There you go.
Well, back in the day, they used to have little kiosks. The only thing that I can think about that it would be about the same today is I've seen kiosks like in the middle of parking lots.
Yeah.
A lot of people now get their coffee that way sometimes.
Yeah. It's like a Dutch Brothers, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of has that like parking lot, like coffee drive-through thing.
But these things would only like hold one person in there.
Yeah. This is like half of a parking space.
Yeah, exactly. It was, it's a tiny little building. Almost like a locksmith would always, right. I've seen there's a locksmith somewhere around town, but it's a tiny little building. Basically, right. Fits one person. You can't even lie down in it.
It's just enough for a chair. It's like one of those when you go through like a security gate. There's like a man's booth.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it was. And you would go in there. No, negative. You would drop off it's a drive-through. So you would drop off your film and then come pick it up about an hour later. So did they process there? Did they run it to a lab? I've never figured that out. I think that they must have had it.
They have a secret underground lab.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess they could have processed it there if, thinking how I process color film now, you would just need hot water and you wouldn't need that much room, I guess, nowadays, but it didn't. No, maybe not.
I want to say they probably, we'll have to do some research on it. It sounds like it would be a drop off. You drop off your film and then it's taken to a lab. They process it and then they bring it back or something.
I would think so too. I mean, I could see
maybe like one automated processor in there that does, there's barely enough room for a processor. And maybe it processes the film it doesn't scan it. People didn't do scans back then.
No. It was
people had prints.
You got your prints.
Yeah.
And they had like a shuttle that would come around maybe once every half hour and go send them to the nearest, I guess in those days, who would have processed it? Maybe JCPenney, maybe some specialized photo lab. I'm not sure.
Maybe on each one of these like little strip malls that they had those little photomats.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a spot inside where they would take the film in.
That would make more sense.
And then they processed it and then they brought it back out. And they made it convenient. It would have made more sense to have a drive-through through the mall, but I guess you can't just put a hole in a building and make it work. But so instead, it's easier to build these little huts because that's the best way to describe them. They have this awning that was bigger than the square footage of the building to begin with, and it usually I've seen a lot of them. They're really bright yellow and red, and they say like Kodak processing or Kodak film on the side. So you used to use them, right? Or
well, we used those a lot. There wasn't really, there was no Walgreens or Walmarts at that time. And the only other place that would process film, I believe, would have been like a professional house or a professional photo place. 1 Hour Photo would have only been start to come around. What's another like CVS sort of store back in the day?
Osco? Osco drugstore? OSCO?
Oh, I don't remember them.
This was in California. That was a grocery store.
This would have been in California, San Diego. There was No, it was mostly just those sort of. I remember I grew up in close to a place called National City, and I remember one in particular we used to go to all the time. I'm not sure why we went to that one, but that's where we went when we had film developed. Yeah, it was just a thing in the middle of the parking lot for the most part. Thrifty. That's what it was. Thrifty stores. Because you can go in there and get ice cream. That's where you would drop it off. Thrifty stores. If you went inside the actual building, like a CVS or something. Okay. Thrifty was exactly like a CVS, and they sold ice cream, and I don't know if they're still around, but Thrifty in our neighborhood is where you would had the 1 hour thing going.
So they had the processor there with somebody that was there to process and stuff.
Yeah, just like nowadays or before.
Right.
Back in even in the early 2000s, you could still go to Walmart. Now you can go to Walmart and
right, or Walgreens
CVS.
or
exactly.
CVS or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to understand more that there's fewer and fewer places. I heard that Walgreens doesn't process film anymore. They don't even send it out. They've like kind of discontinued that whole end of their business.
Wow.
And on top of that, I guess you got your negatives back when you went to Fotomat or you went to Thrifty. Walgreens doesn't give you your negatives back.
What?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Instead of, I don't understand their process. I guess they send you scans, but if you order prints, maybe you get prints. But yeah, you don't get your negatives back, which just kind of blows my mind.
I wonder if they're it's extra $5 to get your negatives back.
I don't even think they give you that option.
Wow.
But then again, I don't even know if they continue to process film anymore. It's one of those things. There's so many people shooting digital now that there's places like thedarkroom.com or the Fine Lab or Richard's Lab or, a lot of these places you can ship your film off to get processed and get your scans, but there's nothing really local anymore at this point. I mean, there is, we still have Tempe Camera.
Yeah, but
in photo form.
Didn't one of their machines break down to where they're not going to get it fixed anymore?
So their E6 machine, they stopped doing E6 because, this is only speculation, and I only know this because I work at a company that used to be a photo lab. E6 is expensive to run, and if you don't have massive amounts of E6 film to process and can justify that cost to charge the clientele, then it's not going to be feasible to do that volume. You have these processors that require like 20 gallons of chemistry.
Jeez.
Maybe not 20, maybe more like 10 gallons.
Make it 5 is still a lot.
Yeah. So tons of chemistry that you have to load this machine up with. And this isn't your, hand processing chemistry. This is, chemistry that's formulated for these machines sort of thing. And, it's expensive. It's expensive for them to operate and maintain it. And plus you're dealing with these old machines, and these machines are not easy to repair, and they're constantly breaking down, and it becomes this burden that it's not profitable. It's not worth it. I'm right there with them. I don't think that that's a logical approach to use a machine that's antiquated, invest tons of money into it, and then find that you're not making any sort of profit because there's nobody bringing that film in. So
sad.
It's really it's a bummer. But there's other options. I mean, you can send your film out too and get it processed and stuff like that. But
or home develop
or home develop, obviously. But there's fewer and fewer options for people to do stuff like that locally.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if you wanted to process your film at home, you have to order your chemistry online. There's places that don't even sell the chemistry in their stores. Tempe Camera, from my understanding, doesn't sell color chemistry or C41 chemistry. Neither does Photo Forum. And obviously, they're not getting enough of a pull for it. If you don't sell it, if you don't advertise it, if you don't tell everybody, come into my store and buy this chemistry because you need it. That's a very niche crowd compared to the rest of their clientele. You're not going to be able to get that chemistry local. So you have to order your chemistry online. Yeah. You have to wait a couple days to get it in. Otherwise, you're paying an exorbitant amount to get chemistry. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's
the expense of doing commercial E6 versus
hand processing or whatnot,
or enjoying the virtues of cross processing,
right?
You know?
Yeah. I know there's a potential there, but I mean, if you're buying slide film, you're going to want to get that
specific slide film. Yeah, there's reasons you would want to keep the blues in some of these gorgeous slide stocks.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to Costco with my parents to get film processed, and for me back then that wasn't as interesting. It was kind of, I was more excited. I was a little fatty when I was young, and I was all excited about going into Costco and getting treats from all the older ladies that were running their little carts. Yeah, I was all excited about that, about Costco, not so much about the film. But we used to drop off our film and get it processed and get prints.
Costco's legit.
Yeah, they still print.
They still print, and I think, I don't know, maybe the one on Thomas and 40th, maybe they still process. I don't remember, but there's only one Costco somewhere in the vicinity that still processes, or they'll take the film in and they'll send it out to get processed. But hey, it's going the way of the dodo.
Yeah, I think becoming more of a challenge. I mean, same thing goes for the malls. It's one of those things. The malls are starting to struggle because there's not enough people coming in to buy. You can get all this stuff online, and it's cheaper online because there's no storefront. There aren't employees that you have to pay to stand around all day and greet customers. It's all automated. Yeah. It's all online. Everybody's buying stuff online, and it's pretty quick. But, that's one thing. I mean, some of the challenges that we have as a community is we want better service as photographers who shoot film. We want to be able to shoot a roll of film, process it sooner rather than later, wait. It's not fun to have to wait for your film, and then get those results back quickly. And then, either get the film back and scan it yourself, or have scans done, or make prints. I don't know too many people who still make prints, 4x6 prints of their film. I think they're cool. I think prints are cool. But, if you're processing tons and tons of film and you're making 4x6 prints of all your film and you're archiving it, it's, you're just going to have boxes and boxes that you're flipping through, which isn't really what we do nowadays. We process and scan and then post to social media, or we'll maybe go in depth and do a really good scan and do a really good print of a photo that we took. But
we're going to need to do a podcast soon about making books and how easier it is to make books in this day and age. We should write that down.
Oh, definitely.
Making books and zines, of course, but as far as printing goes, not archiving it in a quote unquote archiving it in a shoebox and putting it under your bed.
Right. But people had photo albums back in the day.
Yeah, that's what,
it was. Everybody put their pictures in a book, and you'd take it out whenever you wanted and look at all these photos and have those memories. A lot of those were birthdays or holidays. Or,
not as many cats and selfies.
You might have I call it new, call it antique. They're located in Tempe. They are a really awesome shop. All sorts of cameras. They've got, everything that you think of: clothes, books, jewelry, exercise equipment, all sorts of old weird things that you're not going to find anywhere else. And they have these giant boxes full of just old photos, and it's always fun digging through those and seeing those old photos of people that you don't know these people. No, nobody knows these people, but they existed at one point, and they're all sitting around a table drinking and have smiles on their face. The lawn's cut, they're all happy, dressed up or whatever. Majority of those photos, all people just sitting around a table. But Yeah, just memories, printed physical memories that exist.
You can hold in your hand and sit there and laugh. I mean, again, we'll get into the big virtues of making actual prints that are tangible. That, again, going by the way of old commercial E6 machines too. That nobody wants to. It seems like it's funny because we belong in a community to where we need those machines. We need. I don't know how much, the rest of the world shoots some film is, but I'm getting into bad habits. I have 2 rolls of C41 I need to develop right now that have been sitting there for 3 weeks.
You get them done, man.
And then I got 2 more in my camera. The camera's already rewound. I just haven't even popped that out of the camera.
Slow, man.
Yeah,
I get to it.
And it's just like, good thing that I process my own stuff.
Yeah. You get to call the shots and decide when to do it.
Yeah, but it's just old days. I would have just dropped it off, gone to McDonald's, had my cheeseburgers, gone back, and boom, there I have my prints and my negatives all cut up into. They used to cut them in 4s, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, I never knew why. What?
I'm sure there's reason.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have some sort of reason. I know there's a lot of negatives. I have family negatives, and all those photos are like cut into strips of 4 instead of You have the option now of cutting them into strips of 6, and the scanners will scan all six negatives.
Yeah,
6 frames. That's how it was done back then. You'd go and you'd drop off your film, wait, and get it back.
I'm surprised Stranger Things didn't have a little snippet of old school photography like that.
It probably won't be until next episode,
maybe, right?
Or next season. Yeah, hopefully there's a couple shots of Jonathan in the dark room. I was excited for that.
Yeah, that
was my favorite part of the show.
I didn't like the way that dark room was set up, though.
No, definitely not. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was in the back of some newspaper studio.
You need a lock on that door.
Yeah, seriously. But it was funny because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like, "What about the light?"
Yeah.
What? Why is he concerned about the light?
Yeah. Why is he angry?
Yeah. They're just right over their head.
Yeah.
Got to be in the dark. Got to have a safe light on, and you're going to ruin the prints. So yeah, I was excited for that. I was thinking about making some shirts that say, "Damn it, Nancy."
That would be funny.
The days of dropping your film off, getting it processed, those are in the past. But I think we have some potential. I think that's something that I want to see come back in Phoenix, and I want to help make that happen. And
hell yeah,
with everything else that's going on in the studio, we're doing okay. We're doing all right. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary come November. We've moved into the space July of last year, and that's the 20th now. So July 20th is today. Mark that date on the calendar. Yeah. So
moon landing.
The moon landing was yesterday. Yeah. So put a man on the moon. I don't see why we couldn't bring back film processing.
Hell yeah.
So it's a pretty outlandish idea, I think, but
I like it.
I think there's potential for it. Obviously, it would operate a little differently than it used to. I think waiting 1 hour is pretty awesome, but even a day or like even 3 or 4 days is still a lot better than, sending your film off and waiting a week before you get your results back.
Yeah, I think that's definitely feasible. I think that what was happening in the 80s too, now that I think about it, these 1 hour photo things were popping up because before it would take about a week to get your photos back. And then all of a sudden these 1 hour photo things started popping up. And I think it was in the 80s because everybody wanted it,
they wanted it sooner.
Right then and there. Like, for instance, for me, I mean, I already have 3 weeks waiting on these rolls to get developed. What's another couple of days,
Well, the way I look at it, the reason why 1 hour photo existed was for 2 reasons. From the consumer end, you have people that they just want their photos. They want to see them. And then you have other people who are doing things that require, court cases and police reports and incidences where they need results promptly. And it was like, they need this ASAP, and in order to get that over to the court and deal with something.
Well, I don't know what's happened in the 80s where there was so much of that need going on that
I don't know. That's my speculation. That's my perspective on it. But I'm sure there was reason for it. We don't have they didn't have the digital technology that we have nowadays. So it's a different perspective to have. You would have to process your film and you would have to run it through a machine and make a print. And the fastest you could really do it was an hour. You roll into the machine, it rolls it through, it develops it, processes, dries, and then runs through a machine that then does the printing. You program it to take each frame and make a print, and it was calibrated off of that film type. And then you had your prints, boom, all in one go. The film wasn't trimmed or anything. And then eventually it would get trimmed after it, spat out of the machine. And then they would just, boom, sleeve it really quick and scoop up the stack of photos, throw it in an envelope, and good to go.
Yeah.
It was all automated. They made it, these machines would just do all of that. A lot of those machines don't really exist anymore. Once digital came around, it kind of went wayside. It wasn't profitable. It was a big shift. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it would be nice to have 1 hour photo. I think that's a dream to have that, but it would be one of those things where the cost would be so exorbitant that it just wouldn't be feasible.
Yeah, I'd be skeptical now. Like, I would actually be thinking, like, does anyone here know how to actually run this machine?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And
or repair it. I mean, oh, man.
So what happens if my film would be, I'm better off, dropping it off at a higher end lab, Phoenix Film Revival, or doing it myself at my house. Even
right. I mean,
crude.
Ultimately, I think that's the way things have shifted. Is like if you want your film immediately, you process it yourself and then you scan it.
Yeah.
And boom. I think from beginning to end, color takes maybe a half an hour to process.
Yeah.
Run it through a dryer, maybe another 15 minutes. And then if you have a good scanner, scan it medium resolution-ish, low, medium, another, half an hour. So you're looking at about an hour and 15 minutes to get results if you have all the equipment to accomplish that.
Yeah.
But,
that's another thing that I think I wish everyone would learn how to scan or had the resources to scan it themselves and just put in the time to scan their own film.
Right.
I think it would be more you see the results of your film work a lot quicker, obviously, but you would have more control of your final image. Well, your final digital image, let's just put it that way. The one that you're going to put up on, your Instagrams and your Facebooks and stuff like that. Obviously, that's going to be different than if you decided to print.
Right. Exactly.
But man, I think that's one of the things that puts people off. And I could be wrong, but I think scanning is what puts people off. Like, man, I don't know about scanning. I don't need to do that. So maybe we should have a workshop one day about scanning.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's something I think when it comes to shooting film, you're not just shooting film behind the camera. That's one step. And you can send your film off and get it processed and get scans back. And depending on that lab, you either be happy with those scans, you'll be all right with those scans, or you're going to be disappointed with those scans.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the three. And I think a lot of people don't know what a good scan is. And if they do, they're going to look at it and go, man, these scans are expensive, and why couldn't I just do it myself? So there's a lot of people out there, they'll shoot film. They'd rather have somebody else process it, and then they receive that back, and then they'll scan their own film. They realize there's so much more control that you have once you are doing the scanning yourself on those photos. There's so much information in a negative that would typically get discarded when you go to scan, and on an auto setting, which a lot of these labs do.
Yeah.
They don't have, how many thousands and millions of frames that go through their labs. They don't have time to nitpick and check and calibrate and adjust all these images. A lot of these machines were programmed to do a really good job. A lot of these scanners that they have, these professional labs do a really good job of, adjusting for color or, delivering some sort of scan that's going to be reasonable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, it comes back down to you don't have the control that you would if you scan it yourself.
Yeah.
I think in a perfect world, the only digital device that you really need when it comes to film is just a good scanner. And it doesn't even have to be a super great scanner.
Yes.
It just needs to be a good scanner.
Decent enough.
And if you are one of those people who are picky, you can get the higher end, or you can even shoot DSLR style, which you basically create this plate that's illuminated, and then you shoot a photo of your negative, pull it into your computer, process it with a program to convert that to a positive, and you get really good resolution. Your images are typically sharp. There's some challenges there getting the color to calibrate just right, at least from what I've heard. Although there's some people who swear by it. It's like, I wouldn't do it any other way. This is the way I'm going to do it. So yeah, I mean, there's all that we have now that you didn't, like back when Fotomat was a thing. You didn't have that. No, it was all done by them. It was all controlled by them. You would either go to them and say, you know what, I'm not happy with my prints. I want these prints redone. I think they should be done. And this, they're blown out or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, maybe take better pictures next time.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or they would do what they could to adjust it and take care of you.
Well, sometimes, and this will happen. This was happening then, and it'll happen too if somebody has, or just doing a bunch of basically batch scanning and using auto settings, is that when you shot something, you picked your exposure for a specific reason. So what happens is that some of these people are going to use the auto settings, and they're not going to see what you saw as far as your exposure goes. Let's just say you saw some sort of, you were at a concert and there was a spotlight on someone. A lot of times on these auto settings, they're going to want to get an average and try to compensate for the fact that the picture should be mostly black except for a spotlight, right?
Right.
And so you start to get into these scenarios where it also happens when you get your scans back. No one's going to look at a scan one by one and go, well, this picture should have been here, should have had a higher contrast. But you know what? When you start learning how to scan and looking at your photographs, then you have way more control over your image, that you can scan it properly.
Right.
Yeah, guys, I just want to put it out there that it really isn't that big a deal. And the problem is that I think when you go online on these forums and everybody's talking about Nikon scanners and the Silverfast, these programs that seem difficult to master, but once you figure out what you want out of it, it's a breeze, man. It really is. And you just need to integrate it in your workflow. And workshops need to happen, I think, to where we need to tell people like, hey man, go out. You can buy a decent used scanner for under $100.
$120. You can get Epson V550 refurbished from Epson. I'm pretty sure you can still do it. I checked the link not too long ago. That's perfect. $120, $130 with shipping, and thing's amazing. I haven't had any issues with it. It's pretty common. There's a V500. They also go all the way up to like V800, and those are pretty pricey. They're just overkill. Like you don't need that much. It's all relatively the same. All you need to do is scan your 35 millimeter film or your medium format film. Even with the V550, I can scan 4x5. I'm not going to shoot anything bigger than that.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to shoot anything bigger than that. And you would just merge those two together. You lay the negative onto the bed, onto the glass, and scan in one section, and then scan the second section, merge the photo together. Boom. There you go. There's your negative. Or there's your image. I totally agree. I think scanning at home scanning, if you're not going to go through the process of doing the processing, of doing the developing of your film, at least take accountability for the scanning end. That's a huge thing, and I think is really important because scanning is subjective. While developing is kind of subjective, it's just a process.
Right.
There's a control. The film is designed to process a certain way. All color film processes at the same time. Any C41 film is designed to process in, Tetanol, Unicolor C41 chemistry, 3.5 minutes for developer, 6.5 minutes for Blix, 3 minutes for the wash, and then 1 minute for stabilizer. You can process any C41 film in that method and get results. And that's standard. Obviously you can push and pull, but my point is, comes back down to scanning is where you have all the control.
I would say that if you're shooting 3 to 4 rolls a month, you should definitely get a scanner.
Definitely. That's going to pay off.
If you're shooting 1 to 2 rolls a month, go in with somebody on a scanner, but if you're shooting 3 to 4 rolls a month, you should get a scanner and learn how to scan and do it yourself. I think that one would be very happy once you figure out how to scan. And I will say this, in the beginning, if you have no guidance, it will be frustrating. It will be because you are learning new gear, and then it's kind of meticulous in putting your film into the scanner and this, that, and the other. But with guidance, you'll get the hang of it in no time and should be able to get results that you need on a more consistent basis.
Right.
Maybe I've seen scans come back with super low contrast and almost overexposed scans on black and white images. I'm like, what the is this? And that's not, and you're at the mercy of someone who's scanning 1,000 images a day, or whatever it is that they go through.
Right.
And in this case, again, you have complete control of your scan, and it's just another way to get better images and get better results instead of having someone else do it to you or do it for you. And of course, there's, once you scan it, there's things that you do in whatever you use to process digital images as well. So
right. Yeah, I personally, I think I'm very much about processing your own film. We do workshops in the lab, and we've shown quite a few people, it's not as complicated as it seems. A lot of people, myself included, you, Danny, you're the one who showed me how to do C41. I was afraid. I was concerned I'm going to screw it up. And you break out a bucket of hot water from the tap, straight from the tap. Oh, don't even measure the temps. Just do it. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it seems scary. It seems ominous. It's one of those things. Oh my goodness. I didn't take chemistry when I was in high school. I didn't pay attention. That's not like that.
Yeah.
If you can make brownies, you mix some, flour and some egg and cocoa powder and all that jazz together, mix it up and heat it up to a temperature that's requested on the box, and wait the proper times. It's the same thing as doing film. It's just a matter of heating up your chemistry.
Follow directions.
And it seems pretty ominous, but it comes back down to let's get back to the whole topic of Fotomat. You have the option to process at home. You have the option to scan at home. You have the option to send your film out. And let's say you're not happy with all those options. What if you're one of those people, you shoot a lot of film, you like to shoot film, processing your film it's not fun. And I can see that. I know there's a lot of people, they would rather somebody else do those things. I really want to work on this. I really want to figure it out. And I really want to bring back that whole Fotomat idea. I'm working on a couple locations in the area near the lab that are open during the day that you can come through and drop off your film, have us get it processed, have your negatives trimmed and sleeved and packaged back up, have your digital files, all the scans sent to you via a link, and have the potential down the road to maybe get some prints made, or you have the option of doing like contact sheets and stuff like that. Those are all goals that I have to bring to Phoenix. That's something I want to see. That's one of those big projects that I'm imagining. It may not be a half a parking spot little place that you drive through, but it's the closest thing I can think of.
You're going to have to get out of your car.
Yeah, you're going to have to get out of your car. maybe go buy some plants or get a cup of coffee or something. There's a couple locations I'm working on and seeing about branching out. Maybe, there's places you would normally go to go do whatever it is you do, whether it be, like I said, get a plant or get a cup of coffee or go get a book or something, So yeah, I mean, you go in, drop your film in a box, submit a form online. There's a form you would just fill out that has all the information that you would need to submit in order to get your film processed. Prepayment. It arrives. We get a notification. We go pick up the film, process it, go through those steps, get the film back to the location where it was dropped off with the negative scan and ready to be received by the client. And then you get a download link that's emailed to you with the files, your scans. You go and shoot more film and drop more film off. So, big project that we're working on. Just another little thing.
I like
in the
it.
Studio.
I like it. I think it's a great idea. I think it hopefully catches on to where, especially with people who keep shooting film and don't want to be bothered with any of what is perceived to be extra labor or anything like that. I think it's, hey man, some people don't have the facilities to be able to do it at home.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a little quicker service too. You're helping a local business. That business that you're helping locally is only working on film that's supplied locally, that's coming in locally from those people who are dropping off film. It's not going to a lab somewhere else. You're not running the risk of it getting lost in the mail or damaged or
it's all
damaged by heat.
Hand processed.
Yep.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Hand processed in our little lab. It benefits the lab. It benefits the community. Helps us continue to do projects, continue to open hours, continue these shows, continue the development of the lab. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for that. I think that's where we're going. It's something to look out for. I would say maybe this fall we'll have something together. It's going to be a little bit of an undertaking. I've pursued a few places that would be interested in hosting a drop-off and pick-up location, and then also run the numbers to see that it would be logical to pursue that for the lab. And I think it is. I think there's a benefit to the community as well as a benefit to the lab. It would be something feasible. As far as logistics, it's just a matter of working all those out, creating boxes, creating a schedule, creating all these different things that have to fall into place in order to make that happen.
I think it's a really cool alternative to for those that maybe are still thinking about taking a workshop on how to develop your own film. At least it's a good jumping off point to go, okay, well, I can't go to the workshop or I'm not ready to go to a workshop. Let me just see how the developing works out of the lab and see the results. And then hopefully they'll like it and go, okay, you know what? I want to see how it's done.
Right.
And then take the next step up and go, all right, let's check out the workshop and develop our own film and go from there.
That's one of the other things too. I mean, I think there's there's a potential to provide additional feedback on your negatives too, and how you're shooting. So there's a lot of businesses. There's a lot of labs that would, they're processing your negatives, and it's all automated for the most part. Why not have, you go drop your film off, you get it processed, and then we give you a little bit of feedback too, and say, I think
it's a great idea.
Your negatives they came back from what looks like this film was old, expired, and maybe it was heat damaged, and we can explain like what you're going through. Or even I've noticed some people have issues with like the shutters. Their shutters don't fire properly.
The camera's light meter could be off.
Right.
Once you start getting feedback on your negatives, you're going to be able to pinpoint what it is that's wrong with your camera, if there's anything wrong, or what's wrong with you.
Right. User error. I mean, it happens. I mean, there's only one way to improve, and that's to understand the circumstances that led to whatever result that you got. So that's part of troubleshooting too, is understanding the mechanics of how a camera works. All sorts of different little things can be causing issues, and that's one of the things I would like to offer as well. With your film processing, you get some additional feedback. So obviously all those images would be processed by hand.
Something that did not happen at the photo booths.
Yeah, not quite. Yeah. I mean, they were pretty automated too. It's a different structure now. Instead of sending out, it was something local. It cost a lot more to ship back then, I would assume, and it was a lot slower. So now, with how things are expedited here, it's a little quicker, but at the same time, you're having to pay extra. But you're still not getting that sort of service, I think, elsewhere. And I think it's important in order to improve. I think that would be huge for the community. I think that would be super awesome. I've got people that want to process film with us. They aren't happy going elsewhere, and I'm like, well, I'm just doing it by hand. And, this isn't done in an automated machine. But at the same time, I can be accountable for the scratches, or be accountable for certain things that you can't just blame on a automated machine. Oh, there's dirt in there or something. It's you got to be accountable for that. There's some potential for that down the road here. Good.
I hope that happens, and hopefully it makes a lot of film shooters happy around town.
Oh, definitely. I think that kind of wraps it up. Fotomat, Phoenix Film Revival. Let's bring that back. Let's
bring that retro vibe back.
Yep. Get that processing, get that convenience back to just go into a place and drop off your film and magically wait a couple days and boom, you have negatives, you have files, all that sort of stuff. This would be so cool. All right. Well, thank you, Danny, for coming on the show tonight.
No problem. Blast going down memory lane.
If you would like to support Phoenix Film Revival, we do have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/PHX Film Revival. Last time I checked, we were at $242 for our goal of $350. Amazing. Thank you, community, for coming out and supporting us.
Yeah, nice.
That's awesome. Once we hit that $350 goal, we're going to have a party and blow all that money. We'll have champagne. We're gonna have Dom Perignon.
Yes.
We're gonna have some cheese and crackers. It's gonna be delicious. But really, we're gonna put that money where it counts and get it into more chemistry for the lab, more things we can do in there. We're gonna have better shows. We're gonna have better equipment. All thanks to you guys. Really appreciate your support. If you would like to find out more about Phoenix Film Revival, don't hesitate. Go on Instagram and just send us a message. I answer pretty quickly on there. We'll be finishing our website pretty soon here. Keep saying that, but it's just that much sooner. It's www.phxfilmrevival.com. Thank you, guys.